we began here. We got our candidate information. We had some research questions. From those research questions, we extracted our topic, issue, and scope. We performed a ranking, systematic ranking process, and we extracted the optimal research question. Now, incidentally, just to let you know why we do all of that, 2 reasons why we do it. Number 1, because students may have more than one research question that they're interested to consider. But more importantly, when you are having your Viva, your final Viva, you cannot just say, I've decided to research this area. There has to be a systematic, chronological approach to how you derived your research title. And that covers all this. So now you can't be challenged about giving thought to perspective ideas, and from those, using a systematic process in order to get your research title. Okay, so we had our research title. Thesis statements, I'm not going to say too much about those. I think they've been touched upon in previous sessions. So I want to go now to this. So we've got a research title that we want to look at. However, we now need to conduct a review of literature to see where the gap is. So the primary focus of literature review is to summarize research work in order to demonstrate that your work has not been done before. Okay? Now, to know whether your work has or has not been done before, you need to know what has been done before. Okay? So we're going to now look at a systematic process of being able to demonstrate A, what has been done before, and B, where the gap is, which is where your research fits. Very typical question in a Viva. How do you know that your work is in fact filling a gap in the literature or a gap in the knowledge? Well, here's a systematic way of doing that. So to review the literature, you've already covered references. If I click on references, that simply shows, if I go to the left-hand side, if I have a look at my references link here, all this does is demonstrate the articles that have been uploaded to the software. So here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got about 10 or 11 articles that we have uploaded to the software. Now at this point, this is creating our personal library. From the personal library, we will review one article at a time, and we will review it in a very particular way to save you 6 months of work. My own PhD student, one of them, has just submitted his review of academic literature. A fantastic job with such clarity. How he managed that? By using the software to extract the gap. Okay, so here we've got your personal library, which of course continues to expand as you continue throughout your literature, throughout your PhD. Now, let's go back and let's have a look what we did with that. Let's now click on literature review. If we click on literature review, right, now what we're going to do is, this is some work that's been conducted earlier for other students. Let's have a look. What we're going to do is, let's take a reference. So add or edit reference. If I click on that, there is a list of all the references that you would have seen. In fact, let me go down here. Here we've got a list of references that you would have seen coming from your reference app. So I've inserted many of them, but here are some references that I've not reviewed yet. So here's an article. This article here, Nasazi, Effects of Training on Government Performance. At this point, that article is sitting in my personal library. If I'm going to bring it into my literature review app, and then I'm going to review it. So let me first bring it to the app. So these are 4 articles that have not yet been researched, not yet been reviewed. So I click on the article, and once I click on the article, I click Save. And now, right at the bottom, this article has appeared. Okay, so here is our article here. Let's click on this plus sign. And now we will perform the review of the article. Now, what do we have here? So what we've done here is we have got the article in front of us. Now, what you should be doing as a research student is you've got the article and we begin looking at the article. So how does the article begin? There's an abstract, there's an introduction, and the article continues. So now we start reading. So where are we in this? And what we're going to do is we're going to look for something interesting in the article. Okay. So let's now begin to read. As we read, we find, let's say, for example, here we are. Here's something interesting. To support the implementation of competencies, the State Electricity Corporate University organizes leadership management training. Let's say that we find that to be an interesting piece of information. So now we cut and paste that, and we paste it into the excerpt. So now we've captured the excerpt. We will call it excerpt 1. And here, crucially, we put a remark. Now, what is the remark? The remark here summarizes the excerpt. So let's just write interesting data used. There we are. That's my remark. Whatever you think reflects the actual excerpt. Now, one important thing to do here is, here we have got a set of codes. Okay, where they come from, I'll show you in a second. And I scroll down the codes and ask myself, to which code does this excerpt belong to? So let's say, for example, it relates to data. And let's say it also talks a little bit about methodology. So I've clicked those two codes. And so I've given the document an ID. This is the excerpt itself. And this is the remark that summarizes the excerpt. So that's 1, 2, 3. And the fourth thing is to look down here to see which of these codes are the most closely related to the excerpt. Now, if we don't see the code that we want to use, I'll show you how we deal with that. So we just save plus, and then we continue through the article. Let's imagine we come to, let's say, this paragraph here, which is talking about frameworks. Okay, so it's talking about frameworks, which I think is quite interesting. But along this list of codes, I don't see anything that would help me relate that to frameworks. So now I go to create the code. If I click on the mind map, here is where the codes are created. So what I will do is I'll click here, and very easily, just through a process of add new code, I'll insert a code, and I will call it, I'll put it right there, I'll save it, and I'll give it a name. Through a very simple editor process, I'll call it frameworks, and I will save that. So now there's a code, frameworks. Now I go back to my excerpt collections. I go back to my article, which was down here. And we are going to, this one we'll delete because we didn't add anything to it, so that's fine. And now let's add another code. So the code now appears. If we scroll down here, we'll see that code 1.7 is frameworks. Now, this was the excerpt that I found interesting. I copy the excerpt here. I will call it, for my own reference, I'll call it excerpt 3. Interesting comment on frameworks. And I come down here and I click the box that relates to frameworks. Then I save that. Now, so you see now, here we've got all the excerpts from that article, and we know that these are the document references, and this is a summary of the remarks. Now, at this point, imagine that was a complete review of the article. There should be no reason why we need to go back to the original article. Once we have extracted all the interesting comments, summarized them in the remarks column, you can now say goodbye to the actual journal article itself, because everything you needed from the article has been extracted. What does that mean? That means that hundreds of thousands of pages of literature now start becoming to hundreds of pages into tens of pages of literature. We have extracted from all the articles only those aspects that are interesting to us. So now the job becomes much more manageable. Now, when we then click on our mind map, this gives us our representation of all the actual reference, all the actual ideas and codes that have been extracted. If you ever wanted to see these in a pictorial form, there is a conceptual map there which very conveniently shows you. Imagine your supervisor now says, could you tell me all the ideas that you've taken out of your hundreds of articles? Well, there they are. We've taken all of these ideas and concepts out of those articles. We will now have a look at the actual any gaps that may exist. So now we're back to this mind map. So what we can do now is we can see for each of these nodes, for each of these codes, we can see which articles said what. Now, for example, for framework, if I click on framework and I click on gap, I click on that, we now have the excerpt that came relating to that. If I close that and click on another node, let us say advertising budgets, or let's see what we have in strategy. There we are. In strategy, I click on gap, and now the software goes to all your hundreds of articles, and it says to you that according to your literature review, you have taken these excerpts, relate any excerpt that you felt related to the code strategy is listed here. You have your document reference. This is the excerpt itself. And this was your remark about the excerpt. On the right is the citation from which the excerpt began. Now, once you have this, you can very easily just read down your remarks to see, is there any potential for a gap? Okay, so you can now read down the remarks and see, is there any potential for a gap? And that gap analysis will be dealt with in the next session. But just to be aware, we can now go to our editor and we can start writing. So if I scroll down here to strategy, I click on strategy and I start writing. So here I will start writing, but I can't remember what the excerpts were. So I click on show excerpts. Now look how your mountain of literature has come into one page. So now I've got the excerpt, I've got the remark. Now I should be able to read down my remarks and be able to start writing. So I now write, as per the matter of strategy, it would seem that studies by, now let's see the first excerpt. Here we are. This is the first excerpt, and this was by Keith and Fries. Now, I can quite easily put a space there, and here I've got a list of all the citations. I just look how easily I just click on the reference, Keith and Fries, 2008. Keith and Fries, 2008. And what did they find? That densely populated areas attract millions of people. Studies by Keith and Fries showed that areas that are densely populated attract many visitors. Studies by, how about this Kalyanan? Studies by, let's go back to this, here we are. Just a simple click and the reference is inserted in perfect English. Showed that, now what did they show? Well, I don't read the excerpt, I read the remark, because this is my summary of the excerpt. So I don't want to go back to the excerpt now. I'm just going down this column. Showed, presented a interesting discussion on data effectiveness. Presented an interesting discussion on data effectiveness. So now you see, you simply write your document, your literature review, using the headings as per your mind map that are automatically generated that bring you to this page. Now if, and I'll just conclude on this, if you are stuck for phrases, well, or you are not wholly confident in your use of English, many students fail on the use of English, because if the standard is British English, we see British English standards of writing, which are a very different standard to what you may be used to. Well, we look to help you here because we have scoured the literature, scoured the journals, and looked for commonly used phrases. So this phrasebook here, if you click on it, we are currently writing on literature review. So if we go up to look at all the different phrases that are used here, and here we got, look, we got all these phrases here. Let's click on research and perception, and again all these phrases open here. How about this? While it is argued that, now let's put a reference in there, let's put any reference in, for example, that says that this is a good result, studies by, and let's put another reference in there, found the opposite, and we save that. So you see, in a matter of a few clicks, you have got your excerpts, you've got a review of the excerpts, you've got perfect, fantastic quality English. Your references you've not had to type again because they're all stored there automatically. The minute you put a reference in your reference app, the whole software gathers all of that data and puts it wherever it needs to be. So if you ever need it again, it simply draws that out and presents it for you for a simple click. There is, ladies and gentlemen, no software in the world that is able to do what the Cambridge Research Training software can do. With that, I will conclude and hand over to Anand and Professor Nick, who I would ask to step in at this point and touch upon other areas that might also be supportive to students. Thank you very much, and I wish you a good day.
So yeah, how you do your currently how you do your literature review? We want to see like how do we compare.
Actually, this software actually provides a platform for me to do my literature review more systematically. It actually really helps when I show my work to my supervisor. She will be asking all sorts of things. So, you know, literature review, it involves a lot. It involves reading a lot of articles, and sometimes we kind of lost on how we actually find that path of information. And when she asks, I need to recall back and explain, and she will be, oh, you need to really redo this thing. And this software actually helps me to explain to her better.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Okay. After my tips and tricks, I want to see your comments again. Hanan?
Yes, yeah. I can tell to my colleagues that really this system, it's very organized and very systematic. For me, I am now trying to apply for a scholarship to get my PhD. But you know, before, while I was doing my master dissertation, I was a student with Leicester University in UK. And in order to finish my dissertation, it took me a lot of time, okay, because, you know, I was creating my own table in Word, and then I have to extract my data from Word to the Excel sheet, and then to go to Mendeley to do the reference. So sometimes really I start to get confused, especially if I am using, for example, you can see that one writer have many articles related to this topic. So, you know, sometimes you get confused which article you were discussing this point. However, by using this software, it really helps me to be more organized because I went through the article and do my notes or extract. And then, as Dr. Sudesh said, that you can ignore this article again, no need to return it back to this article. The second point that I would like also to help to thank all of you, especially Anat, because, you know, I have disturbed him many times. If I have any question, I message him on WhatsApp and he answered me directly, regardless the time or anything. And if I need any help, he directly opened a Zoom meeting with me and explained for me every single point that I really needed. So I can say that really this software can make the student's life, especially the scholar student or the PhD or master student, they will make their life more easy.
Very good.
I would quickly like to add on to the Hanan's point. I'm not the only one, Hanan, to be honest, and Professor Sudesh, Professor Nick, all of them are dedicated to help the students, help them in the best possible way with the best resources. So we all are available for all the students, for all our subscribers. So yeah, any point of time. And obviously you had such a short time to work on your proposal. So obviously we helped you out. We helped you out to upload your articles and stuff like that. So yeah. And I would also like to add on, Professor, so far it's been 3 years in my research journey. I've never come across to this software where you can, one click of your mouse, you can tell what are the data sources, what are the hypotheses has been used in all of your journal list. So this is something amazing. And based on that, you can do your gap analysis. So you can't go wrong anywhere at any point of time, even if you are three years in the 3 years down the time in your PhD, when your Viva, like Professor Sudais has mentioned in your Viva stuff, where your professors, where your supervisors can ask, so what were your hypotheses and how did you find the gap analysis and all. So you can tell at the one click of your mouse. Yeah, that's all from me.
Can you see my screen?
It is loading up, so yeah, we can see.
Anand, you keep communicating with me, so feedback to me. My questions you can answer because we have muted the rest, so you can answer. Okay.
Not a problem.
Right. Everyone is familiar with the project. Now I'm using my own project so that students can see that different students can have different projects. And Dr. Sudesh project flow is different from mine. So this is my project flow. Can everyone see that?
Yeah.
Can you see that, Anand?
Yeah, we can see your screen, Professor.
Okay. Now I'm also going to continue from where Dr. Sudesh stopped. It's more like a tips and tricks, a little bit more, especially for all those people who want to write the thesis for various purposes like review paper, paper publication, and so on. Okay, so in order to do that, I want many students would be familiar with the paraphrasing tool, QuillBot. It's free, there's a free version, and you can have your free version. And where am I? Okay, so I have loaded the QuillBot here on my right hand side. Is that displaying to you?
Yeah.
Can you see the QuillBot?
Yeah, we can see the QuillBot. Yeah.
Okay, I think most students would be familiar with QuillBot. It's a paraphrasing tool. Okay, so now let's go back to where Dr. Sudesh stopped, but I'm going to use my own sample of literature review. So here's the literature review, and here's the excerpts collection. Very similar idea. And here is the mind map, a very simple mind map. Now, one thing the students must see is that the mind map already structures the way that you're going to write your literature review, unlike some other method where after collecting all the excerpts, then you figure out, oh, how do I organize all my excerpts, which one is the code, which one is the concept. So it's very difficult. But with CRT, the whole thing is, as you go along, it's already got the hierarchy, the structure of how you're going to write your lit review. Okay, so now I go to the editor. Now you can see that the editor directly follows the outline in the mind map. So if you reorganize, if let's say your supervisor says, no, you got to discuss your improvement first, all you have to do is just move your improvement above and bring down the breakthrough, and it will automatically restructure your literature review. So now I want to go into the editor, and you can see that I have put some comments, and right now I want to show you a new one. So let's say I go into designed experiments, part of the literature review. Here is the designed experiments. I click this and insert a new area for putting in my review. So let's just make it a little bit bigger so you all can see. Now, what I found that over and in continuation of what Dr. Sudesh mentioned, I found that we can actually work this side by side with CRT, and on my right we have the QuillBot. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to look at these three, this excerpt, and this is the remark, and this is the citation. So just grab the whole thing correctly. Let's let me just resize. Okay, so all I'm doing is I'm selecting this, I press Control C, which you can't see. I press Control C and I come into QuillBot. And in QuillBot, I paste. Okay, everyone can do this. And straight away, you can see that the first sentence, the excerpt sentence, the remark and the citation is here. And all I'm going to do is paraphrase. Why is paraphrase so important? Because 90% of the students struggle with similarity issues, plagiarism, similarity. So now we can actually take this, and if you had to include the excerpt as part of your argument, you copy the whole line and you paraphrase. Give it a minute. Okay, now it is paraphrased, and I just copy this. You can see at the bottom here there is a copy function. I come back here and I paste it here, and you can see that there is no resemblance between the excerpt and the paraphrase sentence I have used. So basically this means that the whole sentence we can do like that, and I continue to the next one. Okay, I go to the next one. Here it is. Copy. I come back to my QuillBot. I delete this. Don't show this. Continue. And I put this. Again, I paraphrase. Just give it a minute. Okay, you see that here the study included 4 demography variables, but QuillBot already paraphrased it into gender, age, nationality, etc. And it changed all these words. And now once again, I click copy. I come here, I paste this, and I continue. Okay, what is my third line? So this is my third line. Copy, come back to QuillBot, delete, paraphrase. Okay, we take. So there we have it. So we made some minor editing. Copy, and I come back. I paste. Now let's do one more, last one here. Copy, come back to QuillBot. I deleted the old one, inserted the new one, paraphrase. Okay, so now I copy this sentence and I put it here. One more thing. I come back to CRT. I'm now in CRT. Okay, I'm in CRT. And suppose I want to summarize all of this. I collect this, Control A, select all, Control C to copy all. I come back here. I'm not paraphrasing, but I want summarizer. This is fully legitimate because this paraphrase is acceptable, 100% acceptable for non-plagiarism. So I paste it here and look. I click summarize. And you can see it has made a beautiful summary, but it's too brief. So there's a function in QuillBot which allows you to give a bit longer, re-summarize. You can control this. You can control this. So here it is. I copy this summary. I come back here, and if I want to add the summary here or in the next one, I can create a new text area and I paste. So I've now got the summary as well, and I save. This is over and above citation, Phrasebook and everything. Huh? So now I click save. Now, who could have done this faster than what I have shown you? And so systematic, you can go back to it again. Where did you get the idea? You go back here. Here is all your editing functions. Or you can repeat, you can redo it, you can restructure, you can do it again and again. It wouldn't make any difference. And now you can see that within minutes, I have my beautiful literature review for just one aspect, design experiments, 100% paraphrase. I think students will understand what is the disaster of not paraphrasing. But here we can use QuillBot together at the same time and rewrite this, and we now have your literature review done. How easy. If you have your premium version, by all means you can use your premium version. So now you can see that This is the additional part that I wanted to show you. When you have the excerpts, when the excerpts are done properly, when the remarks are done properly, it makes literature review writing almost automatic. And of course, don't forget, this has already been paraphrased. That's me. Anand?
Yeah. Thanks, Professor Nick, for showing us this. I would say this is something like miracle for, especially for the researchers, where we especially be very worried about our plagiarism,
similarity.
So, similarity. So obviously, with the help of this software and also with the QuillBot, we can paraphrase it quickly. So, and we can integrate those paraphrase word into our literature review, and that would obviously assist us in writing the paper quickly and effectively. As a researcher, we should be more into learning the techniques and how we can effectively become a good researcher. That's our ultimate motive of doing the PhD or being a good researcher. Otherwise, there are so many other stuff. You can get your paper publication and stuff, get your name on the publication, but that doesn't make sense when it comes to the teaching and stuff like that. So probably you won't be having a skill and the knowledge. And we, Professor Sudesh and Professor Nick, and with our software, we are here to assist you, supervise you as an additional supervision apart from your own institution supervisor. We are here to assist you with the help of our software. And those who have subscribed to our software and those who have attended last 3 sessions, they have explored how our software, with one single software, and that is something I can say, with one software in your whole PhD tenure, with this software, you can you don't need any extra software, I would say, because it does the referencing, it does the qualitative analysis, and as you have seen today, Professor Sudesh have showed us and Professor Nick have showed us, with the help of QuillBot, you can paraphrase it and integrate into your literature review, and that will help you quickly write your paper and send it for publication. And even for your whole in your PhD thing, you can't get wrong. So when your supervisor, even 2 years, because what happens, to be honest, when you start your PhD, like you exceed to that stage after 2 years when you can't remember the stuff of the past 2 years, where you get the data from, where you have get journals, where you have downloaded the journals. So, and those sort of things, our software keeps a record of every activity you do on our software. So like we can say our software is capable of doing all kind of, and it fulfills all the discipline. It covers all the discipline. It is not only made for management. It is not made for biology students. It can do qualitative and quantitative analysis as well. Yeah.
Okay, if I can add 1 or 2 lines there. You see, this QuillBot has another advantage. It does grammar and spell check at the same time of paraphrasing. So students, there is a beautiful way, like if a student can find any mistake in the sentence that we have just included in the literature review, that would be very, very unreal, because QuillBot does paraphrasing, grammar, and spelling. So what a beautiful way, and all of that can be done together with CRT. Ideally, it should be done together with CRT. It's amazing, amazing idea.
Well, it's a question and answer time. Is anyone else? Anyone wants to have any question, or anyone wants like to?
I want to hear from Rosianti, because she's quite a hardworking student. She has done a lot of work. Rosianti, any feedback or any ideas how you think that this new edition, the paraphrasing, is going? I think it should be #1 for you.
Yeah, paraphrasing is very important, because my supervisor in particular would expect me to submit a paraphrase draft to her every time. She trusts me and all her other students on that. So yeah, it is very important. I don't want to annoy her.
Plus, especially for those for whom English is not the first language, QuillBot automatically does the spell check and grammar check. and paraphrase. And we have it integrated. The way we have done our excerpts collection and the remarks and the citation, together you just copy paste, paraphrase, so you get similarity down, you get your grammar down, and you get your spelling down. Beautiful or not?
Yeah, that feature is very useful.
Okay, okay. I think Daniel, I think you should be capitalizing on this, rather than having a whole set of Excel file, cross-tabulate here and there. Plus, even though no matter how you cross-tabulate, it's possible that you may miss things. Like, for example, there are many articles which talk about the same thing. So you coming back to using your manual skill to keep track of all that. So I think the sooner you change to this, I think you will see the benefit. And as I have shown you, you see the paraphrasing, the moment you paraphrase and write, your similarity is down and you don't have to worry about it. I think such an article, if you submit to plagiarism check, maybe 5%, 10%, but most universities allow you 10, 15, 20%. So I think you should capitalize on this benefit. Okay, that's me.
For more information, see our other videos on research and thesis writing following your interests. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.